Traditional academia is right into freedom of speech. Was, once upon a time at least, right into freedom of speech. Now, they weren't just into it on a legal sort of a level, they were into it on a cultural level. What does that mean? It means that anyone can bring any idea, any honest assertion, not just a malicious assertion for the sake of being malicious, but an honest assertion to the table and respectfully argue their points. Respectfully argue their points. And others could do, opponents in debate could do the exact same and go up against them. And it operated on goodwill. That is, you have your opinion, I have my opinion. That doesn't mean you're a good or bad person, and that doesn't mean I'm a good or bad person. Should we have differing views? The views are just objective views. They're either right or wrong or somewhere in the middle. Now, that was the attitude traditional academia always had, and by holding to that standard of conduct, by not abusing each other, they protected functional freedom of speech because people were not afraid to express their views, not just in terms of legal consequences or the government, bashing you over the head with a stick if you don't toe the party line, but also they were protected in that they could have their views without being smeared for them and insulted for them. And that is actually very, very important for true functional freedom of speech. I think that was always understood by academia. And they understood that academia was basically a safe space, a true safe space for freedom of speech. Now, when we respect that, we can see that people who throw sometimes disgusting insults at others and then say, hey, it's freedom of speech. It's just my opinion. I'm just saying you're a complete retard dickhead because that's what I believe. I mean, no. That's not freedom of speech. That's just being a malicious prick. That's all that is. And again, it works against freedom of speech in real terms. And it should not be tolerated. And I'm not just talking about the obvious stuff as well. There's the creepy passive-aggressive stuff where people construct hidden attacks which are designed to make a person look like an idiot to try and humiliate someone, whereas the individual composes their hidden attack in a way where they try to come off like that's not what they were really intending. The passive-aggressive stuff. That's the worst, that's the creepiest, because what you effectively do with that kind of a cowardly attack is you deprive the guy that you're attacking of his right of reply by not being truly honest about where you're at and what you're trying to achieve. Okay, the passive-aggressive stuff. I really don't like it. Yeah, that's one thing that gets up my nose. But yeah, taking those principles that I'm trying to express, we need to turn our forums more into traditional academic type environment where we have real freedom of speech. People can express their views and their principles, and while explaining them, I mean, you can't say something horrific like and then just full stop, because that's basically an attack, a racist attack. You have to basically make an argument and case for it, an objective case for it, if you believe that, for example. But again, that is what freedom of speech is about. It's about freedom of constructive and controversial speech, ultimately to a progressive, objective end. It's not freedom to be nasty, because freedom to be nasty in real terms goes against freedom of speech. It functionally shuts it down. So if we want people to come into these so-called alt-right forums, more people, and not just people who all agree with everybody because they're afraid not to agree with everybody, and not just people who are nasty, driving that fear, then we need to maintain a traditional academic type of context where people are sincerely respectful. I mean, even if someone comes out with a really silly idea and you think it's wrong, and even if it is completely wrong, don't abuse them. Don't try to make them look like an idiot. If it's an intellectual error, who cares? It's an intellectual error. Correct it. It's no big deal. And the more respectfully you correct it, in a non-condescending way, the more likely you are to correct it, rather than just abusing the individual. And again, that's what we need to think about, and that's the standard we should hold to in these forums. I'm repeating myself, but stick to the traditional academic type context, because that is where true freedom of speech can breathe. Thank you.